Dragon Ball Z. It was awesome. It kept our attention long after GCB became boring, and I'm gonna venture this is the first anime we think of when we hear the word anime. Okay, well there was that show. You know, amazingly, this scene is no less disturbing now than it was when I was 14.
Hey, easy there. We can't let him get to us.
Yeah, you're right. Let's continue. Either way, it's going to be one of the first animes you'd think of, and it has a huge impact on anime culture, even decades after its original release. It was famous for its fighting scenes, characters, story, and that incredible sense of epic that only Dragon Ball Z could bring. But mostly famous for...
All you people do is talk!
Well, yes, exactly. Dragon Ball Z was notorious for its fighting scenes where 99% of the time they are talking and not fighting. Hell, a good conversation can stretch for multiple seasons.
I am evil and you are not, and the planet is blowing up around us.
Yes, you are evil, and this planet will blow up, and someday soon we will even begin fighting. I think we'll both be ready to fight in as soon as 5 episodes. But, how does Dragon Ball GT hold up as an anime compared to its prequel? Well, Dragon Ball GT is often seen as the black sheep in the Dragon Ball series. There are many reasons for this. The basic story is that 10 years have passed since Majin Buu was defeated, and Oob is finishing his last training session with Goku. An older Emperor Pilaf, from Dragon Ball Original, has discovered the Black Star Dragon Balls. These Black Star Dragon Balls are more powerful than the original Dragon Balls, and produce one freakishly huge Shenron. I mean seriously, look at the size of this guy! His head's big enough to swallow Kami's lookout hole! In his frustration of being interrupted by Goku, Emperor Pilaf accidentally uses his wish to transform Goku into a kid again. Unfortunately, any wish made on these Black Star Dragon Balls results in a 1-year timer for the Earth. If the balls aren't recollected from their scattered locations throughout the galaxy before that year, the Earth blows up. And this is the premise we get for Goku, Trunks, and Pam to fly around the galaxy searching for the Black Star Dragon Balls. That being said, the hunt for these Dragon Balls only goes on for about 25 episodes of a 64-episode series. There are many other subplots, such as a hole being ripped in hell, and all of Dragon Ball Z's villains escaping, as well as the fight against Super 17. The whole idea is contrived and silly, but the execution and fight... awesome. On the downside, there are a few issues with this series that are responsible for giving it the notorious reputation it has. For example, this is your average Dragon Ball Z villain. Here we have Frieza, a wild dictator of pure evil. With no remorse for the killing of others, he slaughtered the entire Saiyan race and rules planets under the threat of death. Even when Goku chops him in half, he later comes back as a cyborg, purely with the intent of killing Goku. This guy is evil. And of course, from Dragon Ball GT, we have...
Why aren't you terrified?
Admittedly, characters like Omega Shenron and Android 17 are more menacing. But seriously...
I'm sorry, please don't hurt me, I beg of you, please!
In this 10-year transition between Z and GT, certain characters like Gohan have gone from interesting to just plain boring. As a child, Gohan was a kind-hearted person who was constantly conflicted by his need to protect his loved ones and between his gentle nature. He was trained by a green alien to fight monsters from space.
Oh, come on, Piccolo! Give me a break!
During his years of training, he constantly fights a battle with himself against the intense fury that lay dormant inside him. Eventually, he overcomes his own personal demons, becomes the savior of the world. As an adult, he's the cardboard cutout of a bookworm. That's it! What exactly happened? Did Chi-Chi's nagging finally make him a functional, normal member of society?
Yeah, what a great surprise!
While on the other hand, I personally thought characters like Trunks actually became more interesting as an adult.
You've got to be kidding me!
As a child, Trunks was a generic bad boy kid meant to mimic Vegeta's aggressive attitude.
You've got to be kidding me!
In GT, Trunks feels like he has more depth and has the backstory of being the reluctant CEO of Capsule Corp.
I've seen 2 millionaires fight over 1 zenny on the floor.
Goten, on the other hand, is mostly portrayed as a dating playboy, but I didn't think he was very interesting in Dragonball Z either.
No, Rebecca's just a friend. I want to be with you now.
Now his life will be about girls, chatting with them on the phone and buying them shoes. He will most likely marry very young, and not realize until age 40 that he's a total douche.
Another new character introduced to the series is Pan. She's the daughter of Gohan and Videl. You'll probably remember her from the end of Dragon Ball Z. She's a major character in GT as she tags along on all of Goku's missions. She's your average hot-headed tomboy and tends to act boisterous. Despite this though, she has her charming moments, and I never found myself disliking her. She was an interesting addition to the team, and certainly was more interesting than characters like Yamcha.
Now that didn't take much.
I found characters like Mr. Satan a welcome sight in GT. While he was kind of annoying up until Series 8 in Dragon Ball Z, he was a fun comedy relief in GT, and I laughed more at how comedically seriously he tried to take himself, despite being severely outmatched every way he looked. He's the kind of character you want to win. One of the first things you might notice is the animation in GT. It's noticeably more colourful than the original, and technology has helped make it more crisp and clean.
Questions?
Though sometimes a little too colourful, I didn't mind this palette change. GT is more willing to be absurd and weird than Dragon Ball Z was, and I think it shows in its colour choices.
Goku, beware of that dragon! Do you hear me?
Why? Isn't he nice?
I felt that Funimation really stood up to the challenge of reviving the Dragon Ball Z characters in their English dub. They take the voice acting very seriously. But aren't beyond some self-deprecation. It's harder to take Dragon Ball GT seriously, so often the worst villains will sound as silly as they look.
You've got to be kidding me. Bandanas, ratty clothes, they look like hired hands. Well, at least this one knows how to make a statement with his hair.
Despite the fact that I think they did a great English dub, Funimation's music in GT just isn't very interesting. It's just always the same nitty-gritty track over and over again. The Japanese music, on the other hand, sounded beautiful. Certain tracks like the ones used during Goku's transformation into Super Saiyan 4 are simple but phenomenal, and set the powerful but tender moments of the scene perfectly. Though not always great, I would recommend choosing the Japanese music, if only to give yourself a break from the endless nitty-gritty guitar riffs we're used to in the Funimation music. I like to try and leave on a positive note, but I have to make some criticism about this ending. The ending to Dragon Ball GT is my least favourite kind of ending. It is the annoying, jarring, 50 years later, closed ending that leaves an unpleasant feeling in your gut. I've never understood why these endings seem to be so popular among writers. Why do writers think we want to see the character we've grown to know and love suddenly aging by 50 years? I mean, did absolutely nothing eventful happen in the galaxy in 50 years between now and then? This is the Dragon Ball Z universe! Surely something eventful happened in that time! However, I think this kind of ending can be done well. I mean, Harry Potter's ending did the same thing and that was done elegantly. It made a touching moment to end the series on. But the ending to GT was just disappointing.
To avoid any further unnecessary trauma, I shall not show any further footage of this horrendously bad ending.
Like an ending where the animation budget runs out, this ending disappointed, and I recommend you finish the series in episode 63 when Shenron shows up.
I'm starting to wonder if all of this might be a dream after all.
Overall, Dragon Ball GT was more absurd and strange than Dragon Ball Z, and was more willing to make changes. But I think that was part of what made Dragon Ball GT fun. It was its absurdity and strangeness. Unlike its predecessor, 9 of the 10 episodes aren't spent talking about fighting. It's a series to take with a pinch of salt, and I personally thought it was a great final addition to the Dragon Ball series. Goku, you're my hero, and I was glad to see you go through one more adventure. Well, thanks for watching my review. If you have any comments or reviews on the series yourself, feel free to post them in the box below. See ya!